Your next phone could cost $1,200, and it's no accident. The new iPhone 17 Pro Max starts at $1199, and even Apple's ultra-thin iPhone Air launches at $999. Yet the crazy part is this: those phones will actually cost anywhere near that to build. For example, a 10 of the iPhone 16 Pro, selling up to $1,600, shows components only cost about $570. Apple's margin is huge, but even assuming a 40 to 50% profit, most of your money still isn't explained by chips or screens. So if it's not the parts, where's all that cash going? Take a look at today's flagship lineup. The iPhone 17 Pro Max is $1199 at launch, Samsung's Galaxy S25 Ultra comes in around $1299, and even Google's budget flagship, the Pixel 9 Pro, is $999. And those are the base models. Bump up storage or add features, and you easily tackle another $200 to $400. Now consider inflation. That first iPhone in 2007 was $499 before contract, which is only about $760 today. Yet new flagships cost well beyond that. In other words, prices have risen much faster than inflation or tech improvements alone can justify. Why are we shelling out twice as much for what, on paper, isn't twice the value? A lot of people say, well, phones got so much better. True, we've got faster chips, 48 megapixel cameras, OLED screens, etc. But ironically, making those advancements hasn't become much more expensive. In fact, Moore's law and component cost declines mean the raw parts in a phone have actually gotten cheaper. As noted, the latest iPhone 16 Pro components only cost about $570, even though Apple sells it up to $1,599. Apple's business model relies on hefty markups, which cover some of the gap, but even a 40 to 50% profit on top of manufacturing costs doesn't fully explain why your phone now costs $1,200 instead of $600. There must be other forces driving prices higher. Back in the early iPhone days, carriers hid the true cost of phones. You might get an iPhone for $200 with a 2-year contract, but the carrier was quietly paying Apple the rest, often $400 to $500 more. That meant your monthly bill subsidized the phone behind the scenes. Around 2015, US carriers realized the subsidy game was no longer sustainable. Companies like Verizon and AT&T shifted customers off traditional contracts onto installment plans. Suddenly you were getting a free phone. You were just splitting the real retail price into monthly payments. In plain terms, the phone has always costed that much, but now it's obvious on your bill. The hidden $50 a month carrier surcharge that used to be bundled with service is now out in the open. This change alone made phone prices seem much higher to customers. Beyond economics, there's psychology. Apple has spent years branding its iPhone and its accessories as premium, status symbols. Early Apple ads emphasize capability. Look what it can do. But recent marketing is full of lifestyle imagery and luxury vibes. Apple even targets aspirational buyers. Studies note Apple cultivates a brand image of luxury, exclusivity, and status, attracting buyers who see its devices as symbols of success. Once a product is positioned as luxury, price anchoring kicks in. Apple can launch a $1,599 Pro Max to make the $1,099 version look comparatively reasonable. Restaurants do the same trick by listing an expensive $50 steak to make $30 steaks feel like a deal. The result is you're not paying just for silicon, but for the feeling of owning the best and being part of that high-end club. Every marketing shot of iPhones on yachts or status gifts reinforces that vibe. Finally, look at the market. In the US, smartphones are essentially an Apple versus Samsung contest. Together they command roughly 80% of sales. With so few players at the top, there's not much incentive to undercut on price. Switching costs keep users locked in. Your apps, photos, messages, watch, AirPods, everything ties you to one ecosystem. Apple knows most iPhone users won't switch to Android just to save $200, so why lower prices? Even Google's Pixel team mostly praised in the premium segment. The Pixel 9 Pro starts at $999, matching Apple's base level. The message is clear: in today's market, everyone's pricing like a premium brand. If a company undercuts too low, it risks cheapening its own brand or hurting its bottom line, so flagships stay pricey across the board. We've been trained to think that $1,200 for a phone is normal, but pause and think about that. On average, people only upgrade every 2.5 years, so you're effectively buying a laptop every time you upgrade. For most users, what will that phone actually do? Browse social media, text, take photos? You can buy Apple's cheaper iPhone 16e for just $599 and cover all those basics. The performance gap between mid-range and top tier is shrinking, yet the price gap is growing. $1,200 iPhone versus a $600 model mainly gives you a bigger screen or slightly better cameras, not a doubling of everyday utility. In short, you're mostly paying for bragging rights and ecosystem lock-in now, not a new fundamental capability. We're not buying better technology, we're getting the right to say we have the best. Apple and others have calibrated prices exactly to what people will pay for that feeling. Remember, Apple also just released new AirPods Pro 3rd Jan for $249 and a Series 11 Apple Watch at $399, all premium prices. Next time you do for an upgrade, ask yourself, is this about what the phone does or how it makes you feel? Thanks for watching.